continuation of our, we are going to be resuming our B and F Budget and Finance presentation with each of our departments today. So we'll continue on. But at this time, we'd like to take a roll call, please.
Trustee Ahuna. Trustee Akaka.
Eo.
Trustee Akina.
Oh, there he is.
Trustee Galuteria.
Eo.
Trustee Kahele.
Present.
Trustee Lindsay. Trustee Souza.
Headache.
Vice Chair Wahe'e.
Budget briefing.
Chair Lapa.
Present.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to quickly introduce my staff here today with me, Trustee A. Pohai Ryan and Secretary Summer Soares. At this time,
Chair, I'm here. Just want to let you know.
what's that?
This is Hulu. I'm here.
Oh, good morning.
Morning.
All right, great. Well, thank you. I'm going to read off of this one. All right, so I'd like to now call this meeting to order. It is 9:04 a.m. And just a friendly reminder to our trustees, and to please turn on your microphone, take yourself off mute if you are on Zoom. And when you speak, so that we speak into your mic so that we can record you properly. As for public testimonies, the following rules apply to, so that we are all respectful of everyone wanting to participate today. Public testimony should be limited to matters listed on the meeting agenda and will occur prior to any listed items, conclusion, or vote. If you begin to address other issues not on today's meeting agenda, the BF Chair will call you out of order and direct you to limit your testimony to items listed on the agenda. Testifiers' mics will be unmuted, and when it is your turn to testify. If you're not audible, you will be muted and the next testifier will be called. Oral testimony online will be limited to 5 minutes. Your mic will be automatically muted once you have completed your oral testimony. And if your allotted time for testimony expires, please log off after testifying. Otherwise, staff will mute you. At this time, Pohai, prior to beginning, do we have any testifiers this morning? All right, seeing that we have no testifiers, I'd like to call upon our Kapuhana, good morning, CEO Stacey Pereira, to announce our administrative staff joining us this morning.
Aloha, Chair,
Aloha.
Vice Chair, trustees. Joining us in person and online from administration, we have Chief Operating Officer Kehau Pu'u, Chief Financial Officer Ramona Hink, Endowment Director Ryan Lee, Financial Analyst Grace Chen, Interim Corporation Counsel Everett Ota, Senior Director of Hawaiian Cultural Affairs Hailama Farden, Senior IT Systems Engineer and Administrator Kevin Chalk, and IT Systems Engineer and Administrator Arlene Aguinaldo. Mahalo.
Mahalo. Today's presentation, we're going to move on to item B as we continue with our budget briefings. So for today's Tuesday, May 20th, presentation by our OHA Administration, these budget briefings for the proposed Biennium Budget for Fiscal Year 2026 and Fiscal Year 2027 budgets of the Corporate Counsel Office, Chief Financial Officer, including Procurement, and the Native Hawaiian Revolving Loan Fund. Questions and answers with the OHA Administrator, Directors, and appropriate staff will then follow. The committee anticipates that there will be insufficient time to consider the agenda item above as happened on May 19, 2025, and therefore expects that the meeting will be continued on this agenda item and will be considered by the committee on Tuesday, May 20th, starting at 9 a.m. The continued meeting may be listened to by phone at 213-338-8477, and the webinar ID is 823-422-47397. Oral testimony online will be given using the link that which is us06web.zoom.us/j/823-422-47397. All right, at this time, we'd like to begin with our first presenter. Or Counsel. Good morning, Everett.
Good morning, Chair Lapa, and good morning, trustees. I'm Everett Ota, Interim General Counsel of the Office of Hawaiian Affairs. I'll be going through our presentation today, and then, of course, be available to answer any the trustees' questions regarding the Corp Council budget for FY26, FY27. Oh, just so you can maximize through the screen, maybe?
Yeah, just go to the next slide. Okay.
So trustees, to start, as with all of our presentations, this is a general overview of the functions of the Corp Counsel Office, the Corporate Counsel Office of OHA. It generally provides for legal support, in-house legal support for the operations of OHA, both at the administration as well as the Board of Trustees sides of the agency. We provide draft contract and reviews of the documents that allow OHA to do its business and support the various functions of our various program and operational staff. We also oversee the risk management and records management functions of the agency. Generally speaking, OHA is one of the named agencies of the state that may hire its own attorneys separate from the Attorney General's office. And that allows us to both hire our own in-house counsel as well as contract with outside counsel for services that may be needed to support agency operations. Our alignment is general in as much as we support the functioning of the agency. So our program really supports all of the various strategic priorities under our OHA strategic plan. Next slide, please. Our next slide covers the structure of the Corp Counsel Office. It's headed by the General Counsel, which I currently serve as the interim in that position. It's also supported by two other attorneys, the Senior Legal Counsel as well as the Legal Counsel, and then a Legal Office Administrator. Finally, under the Senior Legal Counsel, we have a Policy and Records Management Officer. The General Counsel reports directly to the OHA Administrator, and otherwise, the General Counsel does oversee the various functions of the staff of the Corporate Counsel Office. I'm currently the only full-time employee of the Corporate Counsel Office, although we are supported by a temporary staff paralegal, Stephanie Jones, who has been serving in the to help support the functions of the Legal Office Administrator. Next slide, please. The objectives and goals of the Corporate Counsel Office heading into the new biennium are really to, again, align with that of the overall administration. In particular, the priority in terms of being an employer of choice would be to initiate and support the hiring of the various positions within the Corporate Counsel Office to restaff the office and to provide for those functions necessary for the support of the agency. In addition, as a general matter, right, we will also be supporting the various agency initiatives and providing for support either directly or through outside counsel as necessary. I guess as a way of background, the Corporate Counsel Office generally, provides legal service support for OHA operations, particularly those that are kind of part of our day-to-day operations. But as necessary, we do go out to get support from outside legal counsel on certain matters that are specialized in nature or litigation that requires a little bit more specialization in the subject matter. So then we have contracted outside legal counsel as necessary that we will go out to with specific assignments or projects that may be outside of the skill set or specialty of the Corporate Counsel attorneys. In terms of supporting operational processes and infrastructure of OHA, we'll be looking to conduct and continue to conduct internal legal trainings such as that which we provided with the all-staff meeting back in December, kind of overviews of OHA statutory requirements, and then also other trainings that are identified by administration and leadership team as necessary for the staff of OHA. We also oversee the contract for direct legal services that support our OHA beneficiaries through Lahui and Ohana Services. That contract is currently with the Native Hawaiian Legal Corporation, but that is a procured contract that we go out for each biennium with funds that are provided by the legislative budget proviso, providing for direct legal services to beneficiaries. In addition, with regard to transformational programs and services, we do have continuing contracts with the with the university, particularly Kohuliau Center for Excellence in Native Hawaiian Law, that provides training in Native Hawaiian rights that is required by statute. We also have a long-time partnership and contract with the university, contracted as a government agency to provide Native Hawaiian legal service, Native Hawaiian rights clinic support for various communities, and that's been ongoing for I think over a decade now. But those provide law students with practical clinic experience in serving community, and also the community members benefit from that work of the law students that is overseen by a Kohuliau professor of law.
Nice.
Finally, we also have, I think, just general support, or anticipate needing to provide general support for the various operations of OHA, again, under the new biennium. Next slide, please. This is an overview and breakdown of the OHA Corporate Counsel budget for the new biennium. You can see the categories provided here in summary, and then of course in detail in your respective budget briefing detail sheets. I'll go over this, maybe some of the highlights on the next slide to maybe put a little bit more context to what those budget numbers go toward. Next slide. Thank you. So for our personnel, as I mentioned, the office is comprised of those positions, all of which but mine, are currently vacant. The recruitment for the legal office administrator opened last week, and then the recruitment for the general counsel and with the cascading effects on the other positions within the Corp Counsel office are pending, but are anticipated to be open shortly. There is currently also open a recruitment for the Policy and Records Management Officer, but given the transition of the exiting interim senior legal counsel, I'm holding for just a little bit and taking on, going through the recruitment for that position, not because it's not important, but just given capacity issues, I'm not able to supervise and bring on board a new staff while still meeting the immediate needs of the agency. So temporarily, I have not initiated the recruitment and vetting process for that, but I do hope to resume that shortly. Regarding overhead costs, the majority of that is dedicated towards our insurance premiums that we renew each year. The majority of our policies are renewed annually with various premiums that I can go into in further detail as the board desire, or as the trustees would like. There's also some amounts that are allocated toward potential legal settlements and are held, but I can, and then that amount I can also discuss further. Additional monies are towards, as I mentioned earlier, direct legal services to OHA beneficiaries. The majority of that is provided for through our budget proviso with both the general funds as well as the trust fund match, with a little additional trust funds added to recognize the realities of the financial realities of putting that program up. We also have monies again allocated toward the University of Hawaii's Kahuliao for those two programs that I mentioned earlier. We also have about 300,000 that is budgeted for outside legal services, outside counsel for legal services with specialized attorneys that can support the agency. Finally, there's associated costs for our programs, legal services, legal research services, and as well as our record storage, our off-site record storage for hard files that are stored in a records repository off-site. Excuse me. Okay. Again, this is just kind of a synopsis of the things that the Corporate Counsel Office is responsible for. But, you know, as a takeaway, you know, our office functions really just support the agency's various functions to deal with those legal compliance and contracting issues that allows our subject matter staff to really focus on delivering on those key priorities and strategies under our strategic plan. So it's really ensuring that, you know, they can do their job, you know, focus on the subject matter, and we try to work out the details, right, and provide that support. That concludes my presentation. So if there are any questions, I'd be happy to take them from the trustees at this time. Thank you.
Everett, I have a question regarding the insurance premium. Have you shopped around for other insurance companies that offer better rates, and are we stuck in this 8%?
Thank you for the question, Chair Alapa. Yes, we do engage in a marketing each year. We're assisted by Marsh, which is an insurance broker that agent and broker that goes out to the market. They specialize in insurance placements and coverages and going to the insurance marketplace. They provide similar services for the state of Hawaii, University of Hawaii. So this is not, this is just kind of an area of work that they do. So they go out to the insurance marketplace and they do shop around for various coverages to find what is the best rate for OHA, given our coverage needs.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Trustee Akina.
Everett, thank you for the presentation and thank you for your good work. I've always appreciated that we can turn to you as we have need. Can you just briefly explain why we have so few positions filled in the Corporate Counsel's department and what actions we've been able to take toward filling them?
Thank you, Trustee Akina. The legal office has, I guess, has in recent years experienced some departures with staff. One of our last records management officer, our policy and records management officer, moved to the mainland. Our legal office administrator, longtime legal office administrator, Shirley Okamoto, retired at the end of 2023. As you're all well aware, our interim senior legal counsel, Nichio Ozawa, departed OHA last week. The longstanding vacancies, I mean, so in terms of the attorney positions in the Corp Counsel office, that has really been the general counsel position. That position has been vacant for the last 3.5 years, in which time I've been serving as the interim. We have been, Nietzsche and I have been backfilling those positions with her long-term position had been the legal counsel position, and she had, served as the senior legal counsel. I had my permanent position as senior legal counsel, and I had served as the interim general counsel. So there really was just a vacancy at the general counsel position. For the majority of those 3.5 years, we have had that, we had that position advertised and open, but to my understanding, had not fielded any viable candidates. When our current administrator came on board, she did want to revisit, that position and, and looked at, the reasons for the vacancy. And she did work with our HR director to, identify, ways in which to make that position more attractive. So that is through a that, to my understanding, was a revisiting of the minimum qualifications for the position, relative also to the salary. So that position description was taken down from our current postings. And it's in the process of being, I think, adjusted and reposted, excuse me. So that would at least handle that position. Given the revisiting of that position, I think there would be cascading changes that would be then necessary to the other two attorney positions within the office. So it's kind of a domino, hopefully, in terms of filling that general counsel position, and then filling the subordinate positions from there. At least the legal counsel position, and then depending on the recruitment for the general counsel position.
So it's been 3 years that we haven't had a general counsel, a permanent general counsel. Is it that the position is not competitive in the marketplace in terms of compensation and benefits?
That would be my assumption. Again, given what was, a vacancy in the position that long predated Stacy's time as the administrator.
Now, is that being addressed in terms of budget for hiring?
I have not had a chance to revisit any kind of adjustments based on the ad hoc committee. But I guess maybe Stacy might have more to share.
Thank you, Everett.
Go ahead, Stacy.
Mahalo, Chair. Trustee, to answer a couple of the questions that you had. First off, so Everett did work on the redescription of the Corp Counsel position. I did have our Chief of Staff also take a look at it to weigh in. And right now, it's in a little bit of a holding pattern because we're actually going to rethink the whole Corp Counsel office to see if we are structured in a way that's I guess, relevant and responsive to the needs of the organization. And then we're also looking at compensation. So it wasn't, all the executive positions were not addressed in the ad hoc working group. And so those, and Chair Souza had mentioned it in the meeting, that those positions and the compensation will be left up for my discretion. Because we will have to look at the compensation. It's just not competitive. In fact, all of our executive positions are under market.
Okay, that's what I thought. And who's conducting the recruitment? I know, Everett, you mentioned you're recruiting some positions, but who's recruiting the general counsel? Would that be?
It'll go through our regular HR recruitment process and all of the various mechanisms that we have in place. And now that we have the 5,000 signing bonus, that will be another opportunity to kind of elevate it and highlight that as an opportunity for employment. But yeah, we'll be using our standard and new ways of recruitment.
Sorry, Stacy, do we have an anticipated date of when these new hires will come on board OHA? Because it's obviously been
So
quite
I'll
a
be
while
meeting-
since.
Yeah, I'll be meeting with Chair and Chief of Staff on Friday.
Okay, good.
And so that will be one of our topics of discussion is moving that. It's a priority for sure.
Yes, good.
It's
That's
long
good to hear.
overdue.
All right, thank you so much for that.
Thank you, and glad to hear that. Just in general, how do you assess our ability to meet our capacity to meet the needs we have? Are we like at a 50% level, 70% level?
I'll let Everett give you that percentage, but I will share with you that in addition to Everett, we do have board counsel. And we do have a bench of other attorneys that are specialized in various areas that our Corp Counsel doesn't necessarily need to address because that's not our in-house specialty. And so we're covered, and that's not to say that Everett is not overworked. He absolutely is. He had, I mean, and that's been, again, consistent for 3 years. We did take human resources out from under the Corp Counsel, so I think that was a good move so that he can just focus on Corp Counsel duties and not have to be supervising the
Yes.
HR director.
And to your point, I noticed in the budget that we are planning to spend about 3 times as much on contractors as we do on in-house personnel in terms of legal counsel.
And it's, and
And I'm not saying that as a criticism, that may
Yeah.
actually be the strategy. I just wanted to
Oh,
make note
absolutely.
of that.
And I think because of the nature of our work and our beneficiary needs and our organizational needs, that, you know, our Corp Counsel and that office is not a one-stop shop, right? I mean,
Right.
it's, the legal field is just too varied, and so to be able to have a bench of various specialty attorneys is actually required.
Thank you. Maybe if I could expand on the
Yes,
response
please do.
to Trustee Aquina. So, you know, I think I also recognize, you know, that number in terms of the outside counsel support or the contracts. But it is, I think, based again, on a purposeful decision by the office, the Corp Counsel office, you know, to provide for those types of specialized legal services contracts. As you are all well aware, the breadth of this agency's work is very wide. So it's, I think, in my opinion, impractical to have attorneys that cover all of these areas that maybe don't need that level of support, you know, throughout our operations, you know, our annual operations. So when necessary, such as, you know, refinancing of the Nalamakukui building, we went out to specialized counsel that works in, you know, real estate and specialized financing work. When we did work on, say, the AHO uh, housing, you know, loan pilot program, we went out to counsel that can provide, you know, contractual review, you know, and specializes in banking type work. And, you know, when necessary, you know, with litigation or claims against the agency, we can go out to specialized counsel that, you know, works, you know, specializes in litigation. And that type of support is provided for under contract with OHA. And we can go out with assignments again to specialized counsel as needed, rather than having just a litigator that might not be active, but, you know, is on staff until a case comes up and then they have a bunch of work that they need to, you know, perform. But then maybe there's downtimes where there's very little for them to otherwise do with that high degree of legal experience and specialization.
Thank you.
Chair Kahele?
Thanks.
Turn your mic on.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Thanks, Everett, for the presentation. I'll just continue. I have several questions, but we'll just stick with the personnel theme for now. You know, I think I also echo some of the questions that, maybe not concerns, but things that Trustee Aquina brought up about, you know, yeah, writing the staffing issues, and we're committed to doing that. But you know, we need to make decisions and get positions posted on our OHA website. I mean, and I know, you know, some of this predated most of us, but having an interim general counsel for 3.5 years is just unacceptable to put anyone in an interim role. An interim position to me translates to unresolved leadership issues, in some cases lack of strategic direction, operational effectiveness, and so we need to fix that. And so having these positions posted within the next month should be our goal. General counsel position, if that's what we're going to call it, and that's what it's going to be, as well as the legal counsel position that is not filled. You know, your office, like several others, has a remedy staffer that if we are gonna sunset that contract, we're gonna have to fill that, right? And having met Stephanie, she's an excellent member of your team. You know, it's just her and you right now holding it down. And so, we need to resolve that. And so that, you know, Stacy would need to be a priority for us. There's a substantial difference in your 26 personnel budget versus the 27. Can you explain that or your thought process around that?
Thank you, Chair Kelly. So the personnel budgets are largely handled as kind of an overall budgeting matter, not necessarily by the programs unless they are proposing to stand up a new position. In the case of the FY26 personnel budget for the Corporate Counsel Office, the discrepancy is attributed to the way in which the vacancy rate was implemented with this budget. So the corporate counsel, the general counsel position, excuse me, is one of those positions that was is designated as vacant, not necessarily as a plan for, you know, keeping that position vacant for the next fiscal year, but just a way to account for that 7% vacancy rate. So it was just one of the positions that was identified for that, and that's how that is reflected in the budget. Again, not necessarily to say that there was a planned vacancy for that. It's just the way it was, that 7% was implemented in the 7% vacancy rate for personnel was implemented in the budget.
I mean, I think especially with your PIA, Chair, like we should have
At least.
accurate numbers on what we plan to have. So if we plan to fill our general counsel position, you would remain as the senior legal counsel. We're gonna fill the legal counsel position, the administrator and the policy records manager, which at least are posted on our website right now. So that's a good thing. What would that number be for fiscal year 2026 and for fiscal year 2027, including the fringe? And that could potentially, I mean, we have the ad hoc committee recommended salary adjustments for your legal counsel and I guess the general counsel position, right? But the other positions I believe would be affected as well. So let's factor that in to your personnel budget accurately.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. So I think the FY27 budget is the more accurate projection of what a fully staffed corporate counsel office, both personnel and salaries and fringe would be. I think the ad hoc committee's recommendations will be forthcoming, I think, in a subsequent budget update, which is being, I think, worked on to be presented, you know, before, of course, the board approves on the budget.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is still, right, as of, what was it, 2 weeks ago or a week and a half ago or so, the budget numbers, which hadn't been at that point informed by the ad hoc committee's recommendations.
I get that, but if I'm reading this, then that means we don't expect a fully staffed functional office until July 1st, 2027. And I would like to see this done by the end of this summer. Aggressively recruiting to fill these positions.
Yes, thank you, Chair. And for my own sake, I agree. But I think that, again, this is just really a reflection, not necessarily of a specific decision to not staff in FY26. It's just the way that, you know, the budgeting was done to reflect the 7% vacancy rate. And it just so happened that the general counsel position is one of the positions that was just part of that 7% vacancy. So it wasn't, again, a purposeful decision to not recruit in FY26.
Okay.
So, but sorry for that confusion.
Yeah.
It is a big,
Swap
and it
that,
is
yeah.
a big difference, you know, which, you know, we did note in the preparation for
Okay.
this.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that.
Yeah, no, those are my personal questions, but I can
Yeah,
defer to somebody else.
any other of our trustees? Go ahead, Brookwood.
Take a whack at it. So you're the last man standing, huh? Oh, don't go anywhere. Not for now. You know, my inquiry is more along the lines like 30,000 feet. And, you know, I like 30,000-foot questions. Where is the general reservoir of applicants come from? Is it the bureaucracy? Is it the private sector? Do we have a specialized talent that is required for this type of work? Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead, now you can turn yours on.
Thank you for the question, trustee Galataria. I think the potential pool of candidates for this position, they don't, I guess I would say that they need to have a certain passion and alignment to the work here at OHA, but it is relatively general in nature. I do have certain personal areas of interest, right, regarding Native Hawaiian rights and environmental type law, but it's not the area that the agency needs. It really is broader than that, and it's really across our various programs, which again cover the gamut of needs for the Native Hawaiian community. So, I think the type of counsel that we're looking to bring on does have a baseline level of experience. Those minimum qualifications for work experience also will be dependent on how the minimum qualifications get set for the general counsel. I just would see those cascading down, right? Having that being the upper level of experience, and then the senior legal counsel and legal counsel having corresponding levels of experience, which also hopefully builds a pathway for future growth in the program. But I think we would be open certainly to anybody who has the amount of experience and specialization needed to just hit the ground running with the office, right? And again, just jump into the legal support necessary for our programs.
Follow up. I think we have to be brutally honest with ourselves. And yesterday, one of the goals and objectives was clear that it had to do with rebuilding trust and credibility. And now, do we suffer from a lack of trust and credibility in the legal community?
No.
No, it's just that we're not an employer of choice.
I don't get the sense that we have a lack of trust or credibility, at least in the legal space. And, I'd say for the majority, I mean, I guess there's always room for improvement across other areas, but I wouldn't say, as it relates to our office. Again, I feel like our office, has put out quality work product, and again, is supported as necessary by, accomplished counsel from across the Hawaii legal community. I think it is somewhat competitive, being a competitive employer relating to salaries and the amounts, that we offer relative to other positions with commensurate level of experience. So I think that's probably the biggest reason, I guess, for the lack of candidates, at least for the general counsel position, which to this point has been the vacancy within the program.
I see. That's ironically reassuring to me that we don't suffer from lack of credibility in this particular community. But as you folks recalibrate, and there is a timeline to this, yeah. So we're going to try and fill these. Right. That's what I'm hearing anyway. Just keep us informed. Okay. I think the one thing that I want to make sure that we lean in on is that this board cannot be surprised at actions that our legal team does that perhaps might end up in the news that we're going to learn about after the fact. Okay, just bear that in mind as you folks move forward as a standard practice. Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you. Chair.
Mahalo, Brickwood. I have a question regarding on page 61. Is number 2171, 2177. The first one, 2171. What is LexiNexi? Did I pronounce that right? But we're spending $16,000 on
So
What is
I
that?
believe that's LexisNexis.
Oh, LexisNexis.
So that is a legal research service that covers all of the attorney positions as well as the legal office administrator position. So it covers what amounts to a legal research subscription for the office.
And that is obviously necessary.
Yes, in my opinion.
Okay.
That's what we use to look up statutes, legal cases, various legal treatises or secondary materials that we use to address, the questions that come up or, allow us to advise various staff across the agency. It's the thing that we use to look up all those cases. And it also has, of course, other tools and things that we use for our work.
Okay, also, I noticed that for $15,000, we have booth rentals, storage of records, plant rental, rental of chairs, rental. Are we putting on an event or something, or what's that all about?
No, Chair, Alapa, that's the general description of this expense category, which in this case, I think
With respect to the
is
record storage.
correct. So this is the record storage is the legal service, the corporate counsel's office's expense that falls under that expense category. So within that, storage of records rental category, this is, I think, other rentals category. That's the corporate counsel budget item that fits within that category, that more
Oh,
general.
yeah. Thanks for
category.
clarifying
Yeah,
that.
if you look at column L, Chair, column L, row 2117, that's what the expenses.
Yeah, so
Thank you.
so I think, yes, that corresponds, and you can see the breakdown there, record storage. Our current vendor is Access Storage. So we have those boxes that get sent out to offsite record storage, the hard copy files that we need to retain for our records retention schedule.
Right.
And that includes not just our legal office records, but also various other hard copy records, personnel records, procurement records, grant records, loan records. So all of that is administered through our policy and records management officer, who oversees that contract, and then, also coordinates the various records, hard copy records requests from across the agency.
Great, thank you for that.
I have a
Chair-
comment.
Oh, go ahead. Yes, Hulu?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
thank you. I want to agree with Chair Kai that we need to fill that position right away. And I also agree with Everett in his description as far as what our Corp Counsel is responsible in doing. Basically, it's a broad requirement, but nothing really specialized. And bringing in the specialized attorneys when we need them is so critical, but there's many months and maybe a year that goes by that we don't need them. So I cannot see us paying big bucks for somebody sitting down. I'd just like to say that a good corp counsel, being paid fairly, determined by our CEO, is the structure that we've been using for many years, and it's worked really, really well. So I'm just passing that on as my opinion. Mahalo.
Mahalo. Chair Kelly?
Yeah, Everett, following up on these, line 2153 and 2171, the LexisNexis, PLI and MLS, these are subscriptions? Licenses?
They are kind of, I guess, kind of in between the two. It's kind of an online subscription or license to use that legal service.
How many licenses or seats, I guess you could say, we have based on the current subscription, let's say for LexisNexis?
The pricing was based off of two positions that were, again, both Nietzsche's and my positions. But they did have, under our license or contract, I guess, excuse me, we had the ability to add that third position into that subscription. So it was kind of it was based on the two positions, but we had that ability to add on that additional subscription.
Because I mean, at the very least, we plan to have, as your org chart describes, 3 attorneys, so we would need 3 licenses, right?
Yes, so our current contract, the pricing is based off of the 2 positions that we had, right, actual bodies and seats, but it did have the ability to add that additional attorney once that was brought on to the office. So that was covered in the contract that we negotiated and entered into with Lexus. It also covers actually the paralegal position as well, but that's more of a general provision in their contracts. They just have those, kind of support positions also covered by these licenses, but it's mainly based off of the attorney seats.
How many other licensed attorneys do we have on staff at OHA?
The only ones operating as government attorneys should be those that are in the corporate counsel office. I can't.
That's not my question. My question is, how many other licensed attorneys do we have on OHA staff?
Off the top of my head, 2. I don't know the current status of their licenses, whether or not they're inactive or, active, maybe, doing other work or.
Would you get back to the committee on what additional licenses would cost for LexisNexis if we were to add additional people on?
Yes, I can. Are you looking for a per individual license cost? Or are you looking, okay. I can check with their representative to see how to take the add on that.
So this number here, 13,000, that's for 2 people or 3 people?
2 people, but with the
You need the
option of
third.
adding the third,
Plus the paralegal.
plus the
So you
paralegal.
need 4 licenses. And if you had to add any more on, I guess my question would be to get back to the chair on what additional licenses would cost to add to this subscription.
Okay.
Since I think it's a very,
Looks like it'll go
useful service for us to have. Does
Um,
that make sense?
Yes, I would just say that the paralegal doesn't count towards our subscription cost either. So I don't know how they're going to, characterize the additional. So I guess, sorry, I'll just say that we're currently based on 2 attorneys plus the option of a third. The paralegal is kind of an add-on that's included within the cost of the subscription. But to your question, I can go back to the representative of Lexus and
Yeah,
ask for
so we have
an
a better
additional
idea
per unit
when we're
cost.
finishing the budget.
Yeah, and I think it also might depend too on the size. I think there are kind of, maybe additional licenses, but beyond a certain point, it's probably a different amount. But
Okay.
I can get back with those numbers.
Great, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay, my next question, just starting in the contracts. So if you can speak more to, I'm on page 60. So these are lines, basically the 2 lines for $600,000. The direct legal services to the general fund, the match fund, and the trust funds. Can you provide more information on those? Start with the first one.
Yes, so the budget, OHA's budget bill has a longstanding proviso to provide for direct legal services as one of the call outs within our budget. Excuse me. That's general funds with a trust fund match. So that's, pretty standard. What we are also adding to the budget is an additional $100,000 for that same to be included with that direct legal services contract as a standalone trust fund amount. That's 600,000 general fund, $600,000 match has been in place for, I don't know, at least 3, probably more budget bills. So that amount has remained static, but as you know, of course, all, costs of operations are going up. I think what the trustees, I think, are also aware of is the difficulty in getting those proviso amounts increased. So that's, I think, where we're hoping that we can provide additional trust funds that, again, reflect the actual costs, increasing costs of operations without having to rely on, the general funds coming up first in order to support that need.
Stacy, can you check on that? I could be wrong, but I didn't see provisos in this year's budget bill, the $3 million in general funds. I didn't see proviso language that carved out what specific amounts would be for.
Yeah,
Can you
so,
verify that, Everett?
yeah, we can. And typically the proviso requires us to do the competitive bid.
But I'm just saying, I didn't see it in this year's final budget
Oh,
bill.
okay, yeah, we'll
That,
take
you
a
know, the
look.
$3 million general fund
Yes.
appropriation that provisos specific amounts in this particular case
Okay,
for
We'll-
direct legal services.
we'll double check.
I don't recall seeing any provisos
Okay, we'll
in
double
this,
check.
this current budget bill. Maybe it was past practice, but I didn't see one in this budget bill.
We'll
Doesn't
double check.
matter. I'm just saying I didn't.
No, but it's good,
reflect it.
because I mean, it's pretty much boilerplate for that budget bill, but we can double check for sure.
Okay.
Chair, I just wanted to also share with you, I think it's important that we give some examples on how these particular funds are
Sure.
utilized. So Native Hawaiian Legal Corp is the current provider of these services, and they do an amazing job. But they do a lot of work on behalf of beneficiaries, because if we didn't have a provider doing that, then they would be knocking on OHA's door expecting legal aid of some kind. And so they do quiet title claims. They have done the Navaeha case. They do a lot of work, regarding the military leases. I mean, the list goes on and on, but maybe you have some other examples.
Yes, so they also provide, support also for DHHL lessees in their engagements with the department. They also provide for other.
How much do we, of this amount, how much goes to NHLC?
Under past budgets, the entire it's contracted. For FY 24-25, it was contracted as one contract, put out as a professional services solicitation. Under the professional services procurement method, and the Native Hawaiian Legal Corporation was chosen as that legal service provider, and the entire
So this
amount
entire amount
of
goes to NHLC.
that's what it has been in the past.
1.2.
Yes.
How long do you think OHA is gonna maintain this procurement contract with NHLC?
It's a 2-year contract that we enter into kind of on a recurring basis, and that has been the past practice. And I would see that same process being followed under the new biennium as well.
I mean, I think just going off of what Kapohana said, right? Our investment in NHLC should be, to the extent that services are not or cannot be provided by some other provider, whether it's NHOs or Kahuliao or nonprofits, public defender. So I want to make sure that our trust resources are being provided to NHLC and they're being used for the right, services for our beneficiaries that can't be duplicated throughout the legal world in Hawaii. You think that's a fair question?
Yes, I would say that's a fair question and approach.
Legal
Chair.
aid?
So I would say that, a lot of those entities, although they do provide services that target similar communities, there is not a comparable program other than NHLC that provides these types of services in these areas, both to individuals as well as impact litigation that supports kind of the overall functioning of Native Hawaiian rights in Hawaii. Those are cases regarding Hawaiian language access, practices at some of the federal prisons on the continent.
Has the contract gone up or down over time, or how has the contract evolved over the last, at least in your time here at OHA?
During my time at OHA, the base contract under this direct legal services proviso has remained relatively stable in terms of that baseline amount with the trust fund and general fund matches. We have over the last couple of contracts added additional things that the contractor was able to provide in terms of expansion of services to family law, a limited number of family law areas, such as those relating to conservatorships or changing of the, you know, kind of a support to the type of cases that we're already working in. So in the case of say DHHL lessees, they were able to do some expanded work, to provide for transfer of those leases to the successors of the original lessee. So there's some allowance for that, those rights in those properties to continue to other family to the family members of those lessees. So that's kind of related. And in some cases, there are also issues relating to parent-child, guardianships or the conservationships of individuals, to try and keep those family connections, Native Hawaiian family connections, together. It is something that they have expanded into slowly, given again the capacity of what's needed to enter into those broader family law areas. But it is something that we addressed in a prior contract and was resulted in a slight expansion of their services under the current contract.
Have you seen legal services or beneficiaries served increase or decrease over time? And how has or what factors like inform the value of that contract?
The Native Hawaiian legal corporations, per their contract, do provide us with quarterly reports on the services provided, and they do report back on trend data in terms of the clients served, even just those consultations that occur, right, that lead up to a potential representation by their organization. So we do have those quarterly reports, and in fact, we do have, I think, looking to schedule something with the Native Hawaiian Legal Corporation in terms of an update at our upcoming Beneficiary Advocacy and Empowerment Committee meeting. In fact, I think we're looking to schedule looking to schedule their appearance at our our meeting on the 28th, so they can provide more direct reporting on their activities under their kind of their contract that's nearing the end of its current term. Thanks.
Okay, great. Anyone else? Any other trustees have a question? Go ahead, trustee Akina.
Thank you, Everett. You touched upon this already, but I just want to confirm. Our contracted funds to Native Hawaiian Legal Corporation are being used primarily for practice in the area of Native Hawaiian rights. They're not necessarily just providing legal services to Native Hawaiian beneficiaries. Or would you know the division between the two?
I don't know the breakdown of how those services are provided. There might be, there are enumerated categories under the direct legal services contract. I think I touched on a few of them. I don't know them off the top of my head, but there are categories that match with the proviso requirements, at least under the last Biennium Budget bill. So we do have a match, it does align in that regard. Some of I think the services of NHLC have been directed primarily toward Native Hawaiian beneficiaries. There might be some, ancillary effects, either with groups that might rely on those same resources for other things, maybe that are not groups that aren't primarily, Native Hawaiian organization, but there might be members that are not Native Hawaiians that benefit from those same protections, or it could be things like maybe like a guardianship or something that has a Native Hawaiian child involved in that same matter. So there are ways in which maybe someone other than Native OHA beneficiary might benefit from it, but it's largely indirect. And the primary target focus of their organization is our Native Hawaiians and Native Hawaiian rights.
Thank you.
Also
please.
in land issues.
Well, I guess to follow up on what Trustee Aquino was saying, I mean, what are we doing to ensure that the NHLC contract and the programs and services that it provides is for Native rights representation and the unique things that NHLC does and not for other services that our beneficiaries can get either pro bono or through maybe a reduced cost, that OHA could help subsidize, that they're being used for, and our resources, the 1.2 million a year that we provide to NHLC is being used for those real specific purposes, and not for other things, that the contract isn't expanding to do family services or whatever.
So the Native Hawaiian Legal Corporation contract does both specify the types of services that can be provided under that contract and does provide for reporting, both in terms of the case, synopsis, of course, not getting into the specific details of each case, right, which has potential legal information issues, confidentiality issues, but they are reported out to OHA in terms of case summaries. They also have other contracts, right, which with other funding received from other organizations, and they do report back to us on the number of legal service hours that are provided for under that contract. So we do have a way to kind of associate, right, the work that's being performed under the scope of the OHA contract with NHLC relative to their other work and the amount that they're actually putting in under that contract.
Go ahead,
But again,
safety.
I would certainly also again note that they are anticipated to be presenting before the Committee on Beneficiary Advocacy Empowerment on the 28th. So a lot of these questions I think are would be perfect for their executive director and team.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I have another question.
And he's gonna follow up.
The insurance premium categories, there's 50, small increase between 26 and 27, but 61, 2115, 2133. If we end up including an additional plan like we've been working on in terms of our leave program, paid leave program, is this where that number would go? This would be folded into an additional insurance policy that OHA would carry?
That would be my recommendation. This includes, for instance, our temporary disability insurance that is through Mercer. We've also been working on with that project. So this is the same budget line that pays for that as well.
So this is where we would include that line. That
would be my recommendation.
Okay, great. And then finally, the contingency for potential settlements. I know we've talked about that in the past, the $30,000. It seems like that doesn't get us far annually. Is that a good number based on past practice of what we should budget for? Or
I guess a couple of things. We could add additional funds in there, but at the same time, the board can also choose to appropriate additional funds, as the need arises. I know we have discussed potentially increasing that number in the past, but we do have SIRs and different deductibles under our various insurance policies. So it's hard to say that if we do put in a number that covers all of those SIRs and deductibles, it's significantly higher. And then the potential that we actually tap that reserve is the likelihood. It just seems like it locks up a lot of our budget in these real contingency amounts that I guess at this point I wouldn't recommend beyond what's currently budgeted and has been budgeted in the past.
What was that? Trustee Aquino? Oh.
I have a travel question, but I can go to somebody else.
Okay, is there anyone else? Otherwise we'll have Kaheli wants to go over on a travel question.
You have a travel budget request? Zero.
No, I do not.
no professional developments, no things on the mainland or nothing, that your office may need for?
Our office hasn't traveled in the last 5 years.
Okay.
If the need arises for us to travel, I mean, we can certainly entertain that, but I think we were also, trying to keep a tight budget that doesn't just include these potential travels beyond,
Okay.
again, given the lack of that. in the
Zero.
past. Yeah.
Okay, and then finally, I guess the last thing for me would be anything that didn't make the cut that we should consider?
No, I think this pretty much covers what we're looking for in terms of our budget. Again, I
Mostly
think we,
staffing then.
Oh, for sure.
yes.
Without a doubt.
Okay. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Everett.
Thank you, Everett. Okay, at this time, we're going to prepare for our next presenter, and that's going to be our CFO, Ramona. Wait, I'm going to grab a coffee. Hey, bro. No, I meant to pick him up from school yesterday. Behind me. I just want to smell the peacock. Smells so good, yeah. 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 Picked up like was sick at school yesterday. Oh, so cute. No, I just. Took off. Somebody texted me about that. They always text me. Like sometimes they text me smiles, so I'll look in the thing. I'll figure out which camera I stay on behind. And I believe this. Okay. Am I supposed to gavel? Yeah. Was I supposed to gavel? No. Oh. Okay. Okay, we're continuing. All right. I think we are, oops. All right, let's go ahead, Ramona.
Good morning, Chair. Alapa,
Morning.
trustees, colleagues. Sitting next to me is Grace Chen, the financial and reporting analyst. And also in the audience is my PIA to understand their budget and to answer any hard questions that you may have. So I'd like to quickly introduce them. This is Katya Versova.
Where?
And Chris Chris is not here. Don Tom, Maria Egpoa, Karina Macklin. Oh, here's Chris Stanley,
There's Chris.
Gina Tao, and Greg Chang. Those are the CFO office people.
Nice.
So the first slide, division, purpose, function, responsibilities. So the CFO manages and oversees the OHA's finance, accounting, operations, financial reporting, procurement, and budgeting in order to accomplish timely, accurate, and complete records and reporting. We ensure compliance with governmental, statutory, and regulatory reporting. We are aligned to OHA's mandate through various HRSs listed there, and our alignment to the BMO strategy, we align directly to OHA's strategy number 12, strengthening organizational capacity in compliance, continuous quality improvement, and efficiencies to enable strategic outcomes. Next slide. The areas, okay, excuse me. Our mission is to enhance long-term productivity and efficiencies in OHA's operations by providing quality budget and financial services that prudently allocate and effectively manages available resources. Another mission statement is to attain maximum value for OHA in providing physical, financial, and infrastructure support for all of its programs and projects so they may accomplish their mission. The other areas of responsibilities of the CFO office are finance, accounting operations, financial reporting, procurement, and budgeting. And the elements of execution are listed to the right. So I'm not going to go through each of them, but I thought it important for you to know the key elements that the CFO office is responsible for. Next slide. Slide 4 also continues with the areas of responsibilities and elements of execution. Next slide. Thank you. Okay, this slide is the staff in the CFO's office and the positions they occupy. There are currently 4 vacant positions, which are currently being filled by independent contractors. 5 vacant positions on July 16th, when I depart from OHA. The Native Hawaiian Revolving Loan Fund is not shown here and will be presented right after this presentation. The office reports to Kapahana, Stacy Ferreira. Slide 6. This slide is the organization chart of the resource management financial assets, which includes the CFO office and the Native Hawaiian Revolving Loan Fund. Please note that all the light-colored boxes represents the current vacant positions, and also note that the vacant positions occupy the upper layer of the organization chart. So they're vacant because we are going to be transitioning from 5 professional accounting consultants to an in-house finance and accounting department. Okay, next slide. The main spending priorities are, number 1, internal staff build-out. So the replacement of the CFO position in July, and then to effectuate the transition of 5 professional accounting consultants from in-house to an in-house finance and accounting department. The second spending priority is the enhancement of internal systems and processes. So this specifically addresses Mana'i Maoli Ola strategy number 12 for continuous quality improvement, efficiencies to enable strategic outcomes and enable technology. As noted in the presentation, there are a lot of reporting revisions As noted in the presentation, there are a lot of user and accounting enhancements to the current system in fiscal 25. And we're currently providing training for the travel services and expense application, which will continue this week and next week. And the go live is scheduled for May 27th. Fiscal 26, we'll also be rolling out the P-card processing invoice workflows and an integrated check request process. And after that, a budget and project module and further enhancements to the present accounting system. The third spending priority is professional development. And this will be very important in the coming biennial to provide the necessary foundation to the new internal finance and accounting staff with regards to governmental accounting reporting. In addition, 4 new accounting pronouncements will be effective beginning July 1st, 2025. And also there's training in the budget, $1,500 per staff and $2,500 per manager. This is much needed for renewing and updating Excel skills and for AI training that has potential to increase specific operational efficiencies for repetitive transactional tasks and recurring reporting inherent in the PIA. Next slide, thank you. So this is our strategic alignment and key initiatives. So how our work supports MIMO is through OHA Strategy 12. Our key goals and objectives this year is the internal PIA building, maintaining the current level of execution in the PIA with this transition, incorporating the new GASB issued statements, and the rollout of 3 accounting projects that will increase operating efficiency. The to-do is to hire the best. Transition planning and thoughtful execution from the outsource model to the in-house model. Staff development and training, and replacing the current expertise with new staff and execute accordingly. How we measure success is if you refer to the elements of execution on page 3 and 4, that's how we measure success. Next slide. Okay, the CFO's proposed biennial budget for fiscal 26 and 27 totals $5,355,931. Excuse me, $5,355,931. Personnel is the highest at 4.5 million. Contracts are almost $500,000. Equipment at 200,000. And then program costs at 62,000, overhead 38,000, and then travel at 31,000. Next slide, please. So this slide pretty much gives you the breakout of what we're going to spend the monies for in those categories. So personnel is just the salary and fringe benefit of the in-house department that has increased because of the 5 independent consultants that are being transitioned out. The contracts are for external audit fees and accounting support to troubleshoot and provide system enhancements and user support to our accounting system and 1099 reporting. Equipment is basically license fees for the accounting system. Program costs are CPE and license fees to maintain active CPA licenses. Training budget for the staff and Government Finance Officer Association registration fees and a subscription to PBN. And then we have the overhead and travel. Overhead are bank fees and supplies for the organization, and travel are cost to travel to the GFO conference for 3 accountants. That's it.
Okay, mahalo. Ramona, thank you so much for that. At this time, I'd like to see if any of our trustees have questions. Oh,
Well,
Trustee Kina, go
Oh,
ahead.
Okay, I'll go first then. Thank you. Ramona, thank you and your team for all you've done, and I'm gonna miss you.
Yes.
I want to just go to the matter of personnel. Do you feel that the budget that is being proposed has the amounts that are needed to attract the kind of personnel that we need to attract to the organization to fill the roles of CFO, controller, accountants, and so forth?
No, I do not. It's based on the current, pay scale. And I tried to recruit. So when I joined in October of 2020, January, the controller left. And a few months after that, the county manager and the accountant left. So I was trying to replace these positions during the year, but I was unsuccessful due to the applicants and or the withdrawal. The ones that I really wanted to hire withdrew because of the salary. So on June 30th, 2021, I was the only accountant in the department, and I had to close the books. And so I hired, the independent consultants to help me. In my prior employment, I worked for, I had one of the independent consultants working for me, and he just did a tremendous job, and we really accomplished a lot of the cleanup in that organization. And so I tapped back into that independent contractor resource, and I hired the same person, and then I hired a controller type person, and then accountant. So we closed a fiscal year 30, we finished the audit, and then we proceeded to just really put in order all the books and records, and then to provide work papers to support it.
Well, you and a small team have been working incredibly hard. What do you think of efforts that are taking place to restructure, to be able to get us up to speed on this?
I think that my plan to transition would be to find a CFO first. I think it's important that the CFO understands what the other independent consultants do, and then that CFO would hire his or her team, which includes the controller, the senior accountant, and the budget director.
So that's the first goal, is to hire a CFO.
I think so.
Go ahead.
Mahalo, trustee. I think the first, before we hire CFO, is we need to increase the compensation. It's
Yes.
still not competitive as it stands now and was not addressed in the ad hoc.
So to Kapuhana, what steps are we engaged in now to get to that place where we will have a competitive offer to make?
So similar to the ad hoc committee, we are currently looking at what market is for a CFO, looking at comparisons in state government and in the private marketplace.
Okay. And is there a timeline we're looking at?
We are hoping to have not only the compensation, but also the CFO job description completed, because that's also in review right now. I would hope within the next 2 weeks. There's a huge sense of urgency with Ramona leaving.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions, trustees? Oh, go ahead, Brickwood.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Hey, Ramona, why the transition from consultants to in-house?
I was informed that there was going to be this transition.
Oh, you were informed. Okay. What's the advantage of that? Can you, from your perspective?
If you're able to hire high caliber in-house, positions, accountants, and then transition the independent consultants to in-house, then that would be really great. Because in-house makes a difference, right? My consultants all work remotely and they're not in the office, and you lose a sense of team, being together. Just so long as you can get the same expertise that we currently have.
And I would assume that comes with the pay parity piece that we're working on too. Is FY 26 and 27, does these figures reflect the transition?
The current independent consultants contracts end on August 31st, and there are no other, contract fees in the fiscal 26 or 27 budget for, in my opinion, a proper transition.
Really? Kind of, we pushing the envelope then on this one, in a sense.
Hard.
Hard, yeah. And lastly, one last question. When does your cruise begin after July 16th? Where are you going? Around the world?
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for your service. Okay, thank you, Chair.
Sure.
Go ahead, Kai.
Hey, hi, Ramona, I'll just continue the personnel conversation. Are these vacancies, the proposed, not necessarily the CFO one, because I know we're working on that, and finalizing that, but the controller, the senior accountant, the accountant, the budget director, are those position descriptions all written? Have you added your expertise into those PDs, and are those basically pending legal review and ready for posting? And I'm certain there are some of these others on the employment website already, but if they're not, are those position descriptions ready to go?
No, they're not. And I'm thinking
All of them or some of them?
probably the accountant is ready. The other, the controller and the senior accountant, I think we have to beef up the minimum requirements
Sure.
for a CPA license. And
Budget
the
director?
budget director was something new that was asked
Okay.
of me. What budget director?
I would ask, that those also be worked on, and you can add your Manao into that, along with all the other things you're doing between now and July 16th. Yeah. Right. Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think, the trustees, we have valid concerns on making sure that there's someone able to take the baton from you, and to help at least, stabilize the office before we bring in other people, and probably has to happen relatively quickly. So having those PDs done would be really important.
Okay, I'll start it as soon as I get back from vacation, June 2nd.
Great.
Promise.
Thank you.
1 week.
Anyone else? Trustees? Go ahead, Stacy.
So I just want to say that there is a timeline for Ramona's transition out. Because of the budget briefings, this was a new process. And so things kind of got halted. That's not to say that it's not a sense of urgency. However, with all the competing efforts, Mona is one person. And so we're trying to figure out the balance. But again, that is on the list of things to do.
I see some, oh, that was you. Do you have another question? Oh, okay. Was that you?
Question?
Who,
Okay.
who had their hand up?
Jump to your travel,
Riley.
just cover your travel request. Most of it is all of it is all out of state, yeah? Government Finance Officers Association, I guess these would have been out of state trips.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's this big convention and they have workshops that you can go to that are very valuable
Yeah.
to learn the government accounting And they'll probably have like sessions on the new GASBs that are gonna come out, so I think it's really worthwhile to go to these.
Okay. Do you know if, are you also asking the answering the procurement questions? You covering those too in the tables?
Yes. So procurement, the only really thing is, items that they have is office supplies for the organization. And of course, salary and fringe. So,
Are they adequately staffed?
yes.
Procurement? Yeah. And is any procurement travel in the travel requests?
None.
None. Okay. Anything didn't make the cut in your office or the procurement office for the board to consider in the final budget?
I think that there needs to be more budget for the independent consultants because we have them until August 31st.
Yeah.
And so for proper transitioning, you would probably,
It's the RGP contract,
yes,
till August 31st?
August 31st, it ends.
Yep.
And we have enough budget currently in a current contract until then. And so it's basically after August 31st that they're not in the fiscal 26 or 27 budget.
Okay. Hopefully we have a CFO and a controller on by then
I hope so too.
that can do a good handoff with RGP, right?
Mhm.
That's obviously, we would want some overlap, so the new incoming team can get as much history and knowledge and support.
I also think that I would recommend keeping at least one after that, because the new department internal team is gonna need to do it, right? Process it, monthly processing, quarterly. There's an annual external audit that's gonna occur, so typically one cycle, 1 year would be needed for somebody to really understand what's going on
Sure.
and the team. So I'm not saying all five. Now there's only four. But I would think definitely one.
But we could have a contract with them that allows us to utilize services for a fee at times that we may need them, different times of the year.
Yes, you could, but the thing about these independent consultants that I've hired, if they don't work for me, they have no jobs. So they're gonna go and look for other placements in other companies. So you may not get the same person who has the knowledge.
Any of those four want to be a CFO?
No, I
Controller?
asked. Maybe controller, maybe there's one person
I
that
mean, I would-
showed interest.
Yeah, I mean, why not, right?
Might as well.
Well, two of
They
them
know
are,
OHA inside and out for the last few years, so we'd
two
love
of them
to.
are just out of state though, so they cannot
Okay.
work for us. Yes, they do prefer remote.
Oh, we might have teleworking plan in the next couple
Uh-huh.
months.
Right?
That would be the best place to hire.
Trustee Aquino, I yield my time to you.
Thank you, Chair. Ramona, any words of wisdom you have for us as we go forward, working on the budget, structuring the department?
Pay Grace more.
Very good.
She's very valuable for the budget process. She knows a lot. She has legacy knowledge. She's great to work with. She's been my right-hand person since the get-go.
Thank you.
Mahalo for that. Thank you so much for sharing. I really appreciate that. Any other questions, trustees? You guys are doing an amazing job, by the way, with all that you've gone through from the day you started. You've got a great team, you guys. Mahalo, mahalo. Which one? Oh, the procurement, sure, go ahead. There it is.
Good morning,
Sorry, let
trustees.
me turn on my microphone.
Oh, sorry.
Wait.
Good morning, trustees.
Yeah, first and foremost, thank you, Chris, and your team for doing our procurement training
course.
for our OHA staff last week, Friday. Having had a chance to sit in on it, it was great, a good refresher, I'm sure, for everybody.
Thank you.
Can you give the trustees just a brief overview on the current contracts total that we have in-house with OHA? How many of those might be, and any looking forward into next fiscal year, anything we should be aware of in terms of contracts?
Sure. Right now, we have between 120 and 130 contracts for, I believe, around between 15 and 16 million in annual spend. From a self-interested perspective, I would have to agree with Mona that the RGP one is going to be key, at least if we could extend it to allow for that, for proper transition handling. That's kind of a big question, Chair. I'd like to get you a better answer, but with a little more time, if can, because there's others out there, but right now it's hard for me to think of them right now.
Can I just mention that majority of those contracts are with our community organizations that we grant.
That's right. Yeah, most of that 130 number are grants.
Any contracts that do not have termination dates,
Yes.
open-ended ones?
Yes, there are some that are Corp Counsel contracts. A lot of them, the retainer type contracts, typically have instead of a definite end date, they have a phrase called till services are no longer required.
Is that a common practice in the procurement industry to have an open-ended contract like that?
In the procurement industry, I can't say, but it makes sense from a Corp Counsel perspective to be able to have these attorneys on retainer, to be able to be called in at a moment's notice. There's no procurement issue.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, for as far as this presentation, the RGP one, at least some aspect of it might be something for us to consider.
That's correct. And there may be others, and I can get that back to the committee.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair, trustees.
Okay.
Are we all good, everyone, trustees? All right, thank you so much, Ramona. Really appreciate you being here. And of course, to the gang right over there. Mahalo, everyone, can you guys get one break? All right, so we're going to move on to our next presenter. At this time, we'd like to recognize Ramona again. Yes, for the Native Hawaiian Revolving Loan Fund, right? Okay, so that's where we are, trustees. If you have your booklet in front of you, we can look at the Native Hawaiian Revolving Loan Fund Program, and Ramona will be presenting along with Robert. Okay, you may proceed.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, you know what? We're gonna take a quick recess. 5 minutes. So we can get that all set up.